All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So today we're going to start a really short lesson. Okay. When we come back from Christmas break, we'll be finishing it off. Okay. But we're going to be looking at the slave trade, the Atlantic slave trade. Okay. So we're going to look at the objective, analyze the importance of a country having silver and gold. Why was that so important? And then we're going to create an argument on whether the slave trade would have been as large if no one knew about the North America continents. So we're going to get to that near the very, very end. Um, a little quick thing too, this lesson is actually very short. Okay, so it is really, really short. So um, you should be able to get through this no problem. Okay, so here is your warm-up question. um, Warm up picture, I should say. The first question asks you, what do you think this picture is trying to say? Okay, so look at those three maids. Look at what's being said on them. Look at the ladies, sitting down, stuff like that. And then the second question asks you to make basically a prediction. Who do you think this mother country lady, the one sitting down, who do you think she is? Do you think she represents like France, Spain, Portugal, England, United States, Germany, Netherlands. Who do you think? Who do you think that mother country is? Okay, so that's your second question. Okay, so just a prediction. Which country do you think she represents? Okay, so go ahead, answer the warm-up question, but we're going to be moving on in three, two, one. All right, so here's the thing. Spain and Portugal had established colonies in areas they conquered. So Portugal was mainly in like the Brazilian area, whereas Spain was in the Virgin Islands, Cuba, Dominican, Mexico, Peru, things like that. And these colonies basically helped set up mercantilism. They would send stuff back home, and goods would come from the home country. Okay. Now here's the thing: you have to remember this. Um, this is around the 1500s, right? 1600s. Um, there's any gold and silver that's been in Europe, the Middle East, Africa. A lot of it has been picked clean. All right. They have found. You have to remember the Egyptians and Babylonians and people like that have been using this material to make coins and things like that. So it's been around. So they're basically just trading gold around between like France and England and Spain, Portugal, Germany and stuff like that. They're just constantly moving the same gold around. But there's an untapped amount of gold and silver in the New World. In Mexico, Peru, Colombia, there's gold, there's silver, there's so much stuff. There's wood, there's, timber, coal, things like that, copper. Um, there's a lot of material there from the earth. And this is all basically new. Okay, so let's say one country like Portugal has a lot of gold, and then they get gold from Brazil, that just adds to their amount that they have, you know. Now here's the thing. It wasn't all just take, take, take. A lot of these colonies were like, okay, well, what do you need? So they'd be like, okay, well, us, the colonies, we need chairs, we need tables, we need, you know, um, just stuff, clothing. The home countries, the mother countries would be like, okay, fine, here's all that stuff. They would basically try to keep them happy because they wanted that gold and silver to be sent to them, you know. So remember this: exports, those are things going out. So think of export like exit. When you exit a room, exit a building, you're leaving. Same thing with exports. It's leaving the country. And imports means it's coming in. I know it says im, but think of it like import. It's coming in. Okay. So again, I've been teaching for 13 years, and that's the way um, I've really taught students to remember exports and imports. Exit, import, import. Okay. So hopefully you remember that. Now we're going to be moving on. We're moving on to your first question. Now, here is this one that I had a lot of students going, oh, I don't know. It's what would it take to get you to leave your home country to an unknown country and start a new life there? What would it take? Would there have to be some type of guarantee? Like, they had to make sure that, you have a home or a job, or, they had to give you money. What would it take for you to leave here in the United States and go to someplace like Bangladesh, or Dusseldorf, go to a place like Dusseldorf, go to someplace like, just some foreign country, Saudi Arabia, what would it take? All right. So really think about it, and I've heard some funny stuff in class from students, saying, everything under the sun. So it's been interesting. So go ahead, put your response. Um, Pause the video if you need more time, but we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. So here's the thing. The governments, Portugal and Spain, they couldn't get enough ships. Sometimes they had to hire private companies to use their ships to get the stuff. Sometimes they couldn't make the things that the people in the colonies needed, so they talked to private companies. Hey, we need this, we need that. These, for these people. Um, so they were subsidized by the governments to make those colonists happy. Now here's a little fun, interesting thing, and it just goes to show how government works. Okay, so let's say in Spain there's a road that needed to be fixed for centuries. All right, wagons would break, things like that on that trail. The government would usually say, "Well, fix it yourself. You know, what are you bothering us about this for? You know, your local people should be fixing it." You know, but as soon as word came that a gold is going to be coming from this port to the city, they made sure to clean off those roads, make them nice and smooth. You know, basically they fixed up the road, bridges, canals, anything they could do to make the ride smoother. Because just imagine what would have happened if a wagon busted its wheel and all of a sudden all this gold and silver just fell off the side of the wagon, and then there's people there. What do you think the people would do? You know, so yeah, so they wanted to make sure that that road from point A to them was nice and clear. Okay, because that's their money. That's what they want. All right. Now here's another thing that happened. Some people from countries, or like, let's say Spain. Let's just use Spain again for an example. Let's say there was clothing from France. The price from France is down here. The price of Spain's clothing is up here. Okay, people are going to buy cheaper, always. Okay, so when they got the cheaper price, right, this company is losing money. And that's the thing too, that Spain is like, well, we need people to buy stuff from our country because that money that's from France, it's going to France. And if it goes to France, then we're losing out on money. So what they did is they put a thing called a tariff, which is basically a tax. It's a tax to bring up the price from the clothing from France being down here to up here. So now people say, well, this thing from France, it's too expensive. Now I'm going to buy from Spain because it's cheaper. Okay. So the price goes up on the foreign goods, stuff from other countries, because again, those countries want the people to buy from their own country. So it's like people saying, you hear them all the time, buy stuff made in the U.S., buy stuff made from the U.S. Okay, well, what's made in the U.S.? ShamWows, My Pillow. There's only so much you can buy of those, you know. So that's the thing. Um, Now again, colonies were important because they had the raw material and the markets for finished goods. So these elements you see right here, that is gold, silver, and copper. Okay, they are. That's how they look straight out of the ground. Okay, so we'll come to your next question. Do you think tariffs are a good thing or a bad thing? So yeah, it's think of it like your local thing too. When you buy something from Amazon, that money goes to the Amazon company in like Seattle. You know, you buy some from Fresno from a local store, a mom and pop store, that money stays there because they pay their workers who it's maybe somebody and then they get paid from because of that, and they spend money and stuff like that. But if you keep buying stuff from Amazon, they're getting your money. Those workers over there are getting paid. The people here in your local area are not. But also think this. Remember, the price of the thing from the country is still the same. It's still high. It's just this price jumped up. So who's really winning, from that? If the price goes up, who's winning and who's losing? Okay, so think about that when you're answering this question. Okay, so take a couple minutes, write your responses. We're going to be moving on in a second. Actually, 3, 2, 1. All right, so here's the thing. I'm sure a lot of you guys know this, but just in case you don't, slavery is nothing new. It's been around since the Egyptians' times. We've talked about slavery and this and that in class. This group had slaves, this group had slaves. So hopefully you remember that. You're paying attention. You know, Slavery has been around since the days of the Babylonians, the Egyptians, and Sumerians and stuff like that. And it's gone up. It's still, believe it or not, it still goes on to this day. Um, and the thing is that the demand for African slaves was actually really before the Americas. It was really desired in Southwest Asia because those slaves were used as domestic servants. Chefs, maids, butlers, things like that. Just like in Portugal, same thing. But it wasn't until the Americas were discovered, and it was discovered that the land over here is great for growing. It's amazing for growing. Oh, excuse me. You're gonna learn next year in U.S. history about the America with the cotton and tobacco and stuff like that. So that's why I'm not really going to talk about that all too much. But in the Virgin Islands, the Dominican, the Puerto Rico, Cuba, things like that, sugarcane was huge. Right, so I don't know if you know this, but that's where sugar comes from, right there. Those plants right there you see in that picture. Um, the thing is, those people, like the Spaniards and some of that, they realized, here in the islands, sugar can grow so much faster, better. It's sweeter, you know. And the thing is, to chop this stuff down and to harvest it and stuff like that, it takes a lot of work. It's back-breaking work. So these guys were like, well, we're not going to do it. We'll just get some slaves to do it. And that's where they start really asking for slaves from Africa. And this is where the slave trade really starts to kick up. Plantations were set up in Brazil, like I said, the Caribbean islands. Um, and like another fun little fact is sugar canes. They can grow anywhere from 4 feet to 12 feet high. Okay, and they can weigh pretty much, and they can be anywhere from like the diameter of like a quarter to like this, or bigger. So they can grow pretty big. All right, so here is your exit ticket. Remember, pick only one of these questions. Do you think that people in a country should buy only stuff from their country? So, like, should we just only have to buy stuff from the United States, or should we have the freedom to buy anywhere we want? You know. And the last thing is, do you think if a colony didn't have raw materials, so if a colony these people settled in, it didn't have gold, silver, lumber, coal, things like that, would the mother country want their people to live there? What do you think? Do you think they'd be like, yeah, go live there, we don't mind, you know? Or do you think that they would be like, go somewhere where there's more stuff you can give us? And then why do you think that? All right. So that's it for this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Um, like I said, when we come back from break, we're going to finish the second half, which is about the slave trade and where things were traded and how it went. Okay. So until then, you guys have an amazing winter break. Please, 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 guys, stay safe. And I'll see you guys later. All right.